Today I'm going to take you through the cover design process for my young adult paranormal series. I'm going to give some practical tips on how to choose a cover designer and how best to work with one. And I'm also going to show you the progression of my covers from first iteration through all of my revisions through the final 3 covers of my series. For some quick context, these books were first published in 2013-2014 with Carina UK, and if you've been watching my channel for a while, you'll know that I had these book rights reverted back to me in late 2020. And I made the decision in 2020 that I would like to republish these books, so that means I needed new covers. And you can read all about that process in my debut nonfiction book, Take Back Your Book, An Author's Guide to Rights Reversion and Publishing on Your Terms. It's available in ebook, paperback, and hardback on all major book retailers. So this series is called the Life After series. It's a young adult paranormal series about a soul collector, which is like a reaper, and it's through her journey of self-discovery, coming of age. There's a bit of mystery and intrigue and romance. So for this series, I used Design for Writers, which is a husband and wife duo of cover designers, and they were recommended to me by the fabulous Sacha Black. But before I ended up going with them, I did my due diligence and did my own research about cover designers, which meant that I went through a lot of portfolios of cover designers to see who was the best fit. And that's my first tip, is to make sure that you check out these cover designers' portfolios online to be able to see their work. Covers are a very visual marketing tool. It's your #1 marketing tool, so you want to make sure it's perfect. It captures the tone and the genre of the book along with being beautiful, of course, and compelling. So a reader, when they are looking for their next book, they see your book cover and they auto buy. My next tip is to make sure you know your budget ahead of time. This is not really a sexy part of authoring when you talk about budgets and spreadsheets, but you have to know how much you can reasonably spend on a book cover. I would say the 2 areas that you want to dedicate most to your budget will be covers and editing. But that also doesn't mean you need to go into massive debt with either. And this is sort of tip 2.5 because it has to do with your budget, but if you are writing a series, some cover designers do offer a discount if they are designing more than 1 book in that series. Usually you will want a cohesive look throughout the series, so once they do that first cover, they really don't have to reinvent the wheel every time. They have to change out, the title, possibly if you have a cover model or an image, change that out, but usually the feel is the same. So make sure you ask up front if you are writing a series if they offer a discount, because that can save you some money. So tip number 3 is availability. So after you have checked out all of these wonderful portfolios and you have narrowed your choices down and they are in your price range, send a quick email to ask when they are available. A lot of sought after designers are booked up for months and sometimes over a year or 2 depending on their client load. So make sure that fits within your production schedule. So when you have successfully signed a contract with your cover designer, it's time to move on to the design phase. While all cover designers have their own process, usually they will have you fill out some sort of survey or cover brief. So the point of the brief is for them to get a snapshot view of what the book is about to help with the design process. I don't know of any cover designers who actually read the books that they're designing covers for. I feel like that would take up a lot of their time, but I can imagine maybe there are some out there, but not any that I have researched. So the only experience I had at this point was with my traditional books, and sometimes my editor would send me a art brief to send to the cover designers, whoever they were using, whether it was in-house or freelance, but really most of the time they would handle this, so this was really all new to me. So my next tip is to be explicit and descriptive in all of your cover design briefs or surveys. As I said, your cover is your #1 marketing tool. This isn't fan art. If this is a book that you want to sell, you have to make sure that the cover represents the genre and the book inside. So Design for Writers asked me all about my book. The characters, the settings, any other covers in the genre that I liked. I looked at some bestsellers on Amazon and other platforms, along with a lot of probing questions about my story, which really made me think. And going through covers that I did like the question that they had about covers in my genre that I didn't like. I found it very interesting to explore my likes and dislikes dislikes, and I was thinking about elements that I would absolutely not want on my cover versus the ones I did. So after the cover briefing, I had to wait several more weeks before it was my turn in the design process. What I found so wonderful about Design for Writers is that when it was my turn, I felt like the whole day was dedicated to me and looking at my book and all the revisions that it entailed. Andrew was so quick to respond to any queries I had or any revisions. I just felt pampered in a sense, and I felt very, very excited about the process. Overall, it was a very quick turnaround to do all of the books in the series. So with my contract, I was offered 2 design choices up front, and then I would pick a design, and then we would do further revisions from there. But when Andrew first emailed me, he felt that he had nailed the book in one design, and he asked me to take a look at it. And I absolutely agreed. So now we're gonna jump over to my computer screen as we go through the process of looking at all of the different iterations of the book covers and how we tweaked it to the final designs. Are you ready? Here we go.
So this was the first cover iteration that Andrew created, and I think obviously it was absolutely gorgeous, and it fit so well with the genre, the tone, and I had a really good feeling about it up front. So the only 2 issues that I had at first was the T. The T's in here, they look like crosses. And while this is a book about the afterlife, I do not have any religious connotations with the book. It's strictly a paranormal novel. And I just thought that just gave a little bit of a nuance toward a religion. And I didn't want someone to pick up the book thinking it was about angels and all of that. And it really was not. So I did request for that to be removed and just have a regular T. And Andrew said that was fine. He said that was more of a design choice. So it was very easy fix. So the next bit is a bit more complicated. And it's also where I learned a lesson. I became hyper fixated on the model and how she looked quite gothic. And I didn't feel like it represented my main character and her journey in the first book. So I did let them know that, and they had used a model from Shutterstock. So I went on that website and I found another picture that I thought represented the main character a little better. But Andrew was so kind to take the model that I thought would fit better on the cover and change her out on the cover. So this was the resulting cover, and I understand why he chose the first model. So the T's were removed, which was fantastic. And I think my focus was that having these cross T's made it look a little bit more gothic because of the T's and then her dress and everything. But this model, same model, it's just a different pose and a different outfit. This one takes up a lot more space. And she, even though she has a very similar look, there is just something about this model that's really compelling and it draws in the eye, which was my initial reaction to the cover overall. So Andrew was so kind to change that out again and create the cover, basically just having the cross T's removed. And as an aside, I am an extremely visual person. I have difficulties imagining dimensions and other things without actually seeing them. So I did sort of learn that even more with this process. And I did explain that to Andrew as well, so that he didn't think that I was just being obnoxious or just not appreciating the work he's done. I just can't visualize things until they are right in front of me. And knowing your strengths is important, and it's helpful to be upfront and honest and to cultivate a good relationship with your designer or any professional that you employ to help with your book. So this is the full wrap. This basically is for the paperback version. So I didn't have the back cover blurb, so he just put some text here. Eventually you'll see my website at the bottom there, but this is the full wrap of the book. I love how the smoke continues and how the forest is sort of the background here. I absolutely love it. So now we'll move on to book 2, Soul Possessed. Well, I had filled out a design brief for this book. Once we decided on the first cover, it was obvious that we wanted to have a cohesive look because this is a series, and it made the process move a lot smoother as we would deal with mostly, changing out the model and the background and the coloring of the covers. So this is the first iteration of Soul Possessed, and I think it is absolutely gorgeous. I did choose the same model, and from that other sort of tangent I took with the model, I found her in that outfit was a sword. So the sword has some significance in the book. And while this was absolutely gorgeous when I first saw it, it didn't necessarily match the tone of the first book. So with the first book, the blues sort of match this fog. It kind of fills in here. In the second one, I felt like the purple and the pink were such contrasting colors that they really didn't fit when looking at the books as a series. But everything else looked pretty good. So I did have a little bit of an issue where the D had that little tail on the end on possessed. I didn't think that really fit well. So it was basically the D and the background. So this was the change. So he went with more of that purple background here and matched it to the fog versus this one that was a little more orangey pink. So I really, really love this. And then we got rid of the little tail on the D. So once that was approved, this is the full wrap for the book. I absolutely love it. Every time I look at this, I'm just like, I love it. And even the leaves on the ground having the same coloring is just phenomenal. And I cannot wait to hold these books in my hand. In the third book, the main character explores her abilities a bit more, and I wanted the cover to showcase that. So I'm going to put all the covers up, including this last one, just to show you my point here. So this was the first iteration of Soul Betrayed. While I had chosen that pose specifically because I wanted her abilities to sort of come through in her hand, I felt the cover was a bit too intense with the background coloring, and it really looked like she was either setting a fire or standing in front of fire specifically. And the nuances of the abilities in the book are not exactly fire. And I wanted them to appear like sort of in her hand a little bit more. So having the crows there, I really didn't like because none of the other covers really had any animals or anything. Yes, it has the woods, but I just felt we had our work cut out for us in this one. So I did express to him all of my concerns. The background, the coloring was way too intense as compared to the other ones. And then I really wanted to work on the magic coming out of her hand. So the next iteration was a bit softer, but now we had completely removed the forest background and it really looked like she was creating this fire in her hand, which I didn't really want. So I did end up sending some examples of book covers that had like magic coming out of their hand. So this was the next iteration. So we had the woods back here. The coloring is a bit better. It fits more of the tone of the series, but bringing this specific cover down to thumbnail view, it looked like her hand was like a ball of light. And that's not really what I was looking for. So I did ask for the magic, quote unquote, to be a little more transparent. And this is, what he came up with. I still was not happy. And, we had a few back and forths on this. And it just wasn't right as compared to the other covers, which I was so over the moon about. So after a few back and forths, we came up with the final cover, which is this one. And he did update the background. It fits very cohesively with the series. The magic in her hand looks more mystical and not necessarily like a ball of flame coming out of her hands. And it didn't necessarily look like it was coming out of her hand because the nuances of her abilities are nuanced, I guess, without doing any spoilers here. So this is the cohesive look of all of the books in the series. And this is the full wrap. As you can see now at the bottom, that has my website and everything. Still doesn't have a back cover blurb, but I really love seeing, where the tagline is going to be and then all the text. So I'm very, very pleased with the series as a whole. And this one, I had the front taglines removed because I am not using taglines for the front covers of my books. And I just think they're very, very beautiful as is. And then obviously, if I want to add something, I can add it in the interior formatting of the book. I can add early reviews or anything like that later on. I don't necessarily think, especially in ebooks, that blurbs from other authors really sell the book as much as people think. I just wanted them to be very clean and cohesive.
So as I mentioned, I didn't have the back cover blurbs for the books. So I'm going to talk about what happens after you work with a cover designer. At this point, I had all of my covers ready to go, so you do still need to have contact with your cover designer in terms of the back cover blurb and also the spine size. So the spine size that Andrew came up with is probably just a template. So after the formatting process of your book, which means your book is ready to go, all the interior files are complete, you will be given a page count, whether you are doing it yourself in Vellum or Word or Atticus, or you are working with a formatter. So once you have that page count, you want to contact the designer. Hopefully you'll have your back cover blurb at that moment, and then you want to give them the amount of pages based on a specific trim size. This is a lot of technical details, but if you have any questions, ask your cover designer. They'll probably ask you up front about your trim size, and then when you give them the final word count, they will adjust the spine of the book. So for instance, Take Back Your Book here is about 154 pages, where my summer women's fiction novel, Barefoot on the Beach, is almost 300 pages. So you see the difference here in the spine size. It's quite obvious. So even though they are about the same size book, the cover designer needs to adjust the spine so that the title comes through and it's centered and everything looks pretty. You don't want the title to be cut off or your name to be cut off, so that's a very important part of the process. So be sure to have your cover designer's information readily available for when you are in the later part of your process. So now that you've seen the beautiful covers for the Life After series, I did want to let you know that Soul Taken is in its pre-order period. I am launching this book at 99 cents. My main purpose with this platform is to connect with writers, so do not feel obligated at all to pick up this book if it's not something you're interested in, but I did want to let you know that it was available now for pre-order. At the time of this filming, I don't have the paperback available quite yet, but it will be up before launch period. So I'm launching the ebook at 99 cents, and if you're interested, I'll put the link in the description box below. So I hope you got a ton of information about working with cover designers, and if you have any other questions, let me know in the comments below. I'm happy to talk about my process always. So if you enjoyed this video, do give it a big thumbs up because it really helps me out and it helps me connect with more writers like you, and I would so appreciate it. Also, if you don't want to miss out on any other videos, be sure to hit that subscribe button and the little notification bell next to it so you don't miss an upload. And I'll see you soon.